Hello. First I have to check this if it works. Yeah, okay. Well, hello everyone. I'm very happy to be in front of you today. And first of all, I want to thank DataFest organizers for organizing this interesting event for us because uh, in our hometown we don't really have so much access to so many interesting people in this field, and for gathering us together in this room today, this is a real good opportunity for us to exchange some knowledge, to brainstorm some ideas, and to learn from each other. And I think there's a good chance for us, as far as we have access to each other, so we will be trying our best to get the most we can get from you, and we are ready to share our experience with you. So let me introduce myself. I'm CEO and a co-founder of Pulsar AI, the company that specializes and works exclusively on artificial intelligence. So this means that everything we create and develop has at least some component of AI, and sometimes AI is a small part of the application, sometimes it's the major part, but anyway, it is the component of it, and that's what we develop. So our company consists of professionals from different fields. After founding it 1 year ago, now we are already more than 25 people working in this company. Some of them work remotely for us, and those are deep learning specialists, machine learning engineers, linguists, management members, and some other people from such fields who were brought together with the motivation to innovate and create something new in artificial intelligence in the field of future, as we call it. And we are all driven to innovate and create some amazing solutions. We focus on research, but to be able to do research, you need some resources for it. And the other thing we do is we create solutions, AI solutions for various companies. And this creation of AI solutions for companies from different industries gives us resources to do research. This means that we are challenged by the real-life tasks that we need to accomplish using artificial intelligence, and this is a good source for us to focus on right things, to choose the right direction for our research topics, and to develop real-life applications that will have real-life usage, so that we will be able to test it on the real market. And that is very critical for us. And on the other side, all the rest of the resources you need to have a research in your company, we're provided with these resources by doing solutions for other companies. As it was already mentioned, we created a first messenger chatbot in Georgian language for the largest commercial bank here in Georgia, and that was another good chance for us to learn many things in this field, to test the real application with the real users. And this bank has lots of users, believe me, and we had a very good opportunity to test, for example, our NLP engine, or natural language processing engine, that we created specifically for Georgian language. And yeah, I would like to mention a couple of things we did recently. It was first is the voice recognition system for Georgian language, and it was quite a long journey for us to create this system, because it's not easy if you have ever had a chance to do something in this field, you would know that at least data collection is very hard for this, because you have to collect very balanced data by the time when it's also diverse. And but the very interesting thing besides this is, for example, remote identification system, where we extract data from a photo of the official document of a person. It can be a passport or ID card. And then we compare it to the face recognition system material that we receive from this application, and in this way we verify the identity of the person who is trying to conduct this process. And another thing that we did recently was where we relied on data was the prediction of elections of the mayor of capital of Georgia. We had elections here a couple of weeks ago, and that was where we experienced how important data is once again. Well, what we did, we collected all the data over the internet, like from news websites, from social media, from blogs. And this data was engagement data, where we could measure popularity and engagement of people towards each candidate. And by collecting this data, we had data points of also from historical data. And what we did was that after measuring engagement, for example, if a candidate had a million reactions in 1 week, then we went into the depth and measured the sentiment of this data, like if a comment was positive or negative or neutral. And by this measurements, we found out how many supporters would each candidate have. And that was what we received. We didn't really expect that much precise prediction, because we said that the leading candidate would receive 51.1% of the votes, and he received 51.09. So you see what the error is. Probably, I don't remember, probably our result was even rounded up, and it was probably even 51.09. And besides the fact that all the other researchers who are actually experienced of doing predictions on elections, besides the fact that they were claiming that some other candidate would be the runner-up, we found out that there was another candidate who would be the runner-up, and what we predicted appeared to be right. And overall, in this prediction model, there was just 1.5 or 2% of variance from the actual votes candidates have received. And that was a very recent situation where we once again experienced the power of data, and that's why we say that in data we trust. Okay, so to move on, actual building AI startup, I would like to focus on some challenges that are different if you're building an AI startup and not just a tech startup, okay? Because in this case, we all know that, okay, building a startup is not easy and it's not a new thing for us. But the thing is that when you're building an AI startup, it is kind of different, because some challenges are quite different from the challenges you would have in a regular startup. Because if you're, let's say, if you're building an e-commerce website, for example, when users come to your website, they don't test your buttons, okay? They don't go and click close to button to see what happens. They just go and click on the button to see how it works, but they know that they have to go and click the button. But in our case, for example, when they are testing our remote identification solution, what they do is that on one step you have to show your ID card to the camera, and if you show, you're instructed to show your card like this, but people always try to show it like this, sometimes, well, not always. to test whether will it extract data or not. But why do we behave in this way? Because if we say that we are creating AI solutions to substitute some tasks that we have to do today, then in this case, we never go to bank, and when they ask us to show our ID, we don't try to make it invisible, right? We show it in a way that it is visible. But in our case, people try to test and to let's say hack your attack, but there is no rational reason for it, right? Because we're trying to create a good substitution for tasks that we don't want to do in the future anymore, but still we're trying to make it different. Like when they're testing our face recognition system, they're making some weird faces to try whether will it guess or not, and that's another example. Or let's say when they are talking to our chatbot that we mentioned before, they try to write some unused words they would never use in the regular conversation with some bank operator, let's say, and they make spelling errors, while you don't do this when you go to Google and you want to search something and you want to get the best result you can. Well, and this, I think, very well defines the stage of this technology in this field, because, well, some people were testing how buttons functioned maybe 20 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, but that's not the topic anymore today. But as far as these technologies are all new and these technologies are introduced now to the people, this is the stage where there is so much freedom what you would do, and there are not standards of how these applications should work, how should a chatbot work, how should face recognition system would work, and this is what defines the stage where we are now, because we are testing everything. Like sometimes we don't believe it would work, and that's why we are trying to show our ID card in a way that it's a bit invisible for the application. And that's the point where we have to decide what do we want from AI, and then start building some standards. Because if we try to, if we go today and show our ID card in a weird way, they would say that, okay, I can see it and show me. And in this case, we behave as we are instructed. So we have to be, we have to trust those applications and behave in a way they ask for, because that's the way it works. And if we say that we are building AI solutions to substitute some stuff that we're doing today, then we have to kind of make it similar to the behavior we do today. And there are some other challenges as well. For example, the first thing I mentioned today is that there are no professionals and experienced staff in this field, and that's quite critical for us, because, and that's why some people are working remotely for us, because you can't really find people who have experience in deep learning. Like there are some of them, and well, we're happy that we have some of them in our company, but if you want to grow in this direction, that it's a really big challenge for you. Awareness is another problem, because well, we are a B2B company today, as I mentioned before, and when we go to companies and talk to them about AI, first, sometimes they don't even treat you as serious, because you're talking about robots, and the robots they saw recently was from the Westworld TV series, and they have to ask you questions based on experience they had, and they're kind of poisoned by the Hollywood experience and shows that they have seen, and that's where they had the closest experience with some AI and what it should do. And when you're talking about some particular task accomplishment by artificial intelligence, they are asking you questions based on those movies, and it's not really it's not really easy to get into a good conversation with those people, because they actually, it appears that they know nothing, but they are still in charge of it. So you have to convince them that artificial intelligence, as it is today, can be used for doing some particular tasks, and in those tasks it can be a good replacement for humans, but it cannot be implemented now in a way that it can do anything for you. It's like we're talking about general intelligence with some security issues and stuff like that we can hear from all of those tech giants today. But yeah, we know that we're moving towards that direction, but the thing is that if we're talking about creating real-life applications today, then we have to talk about particular task accomplishment by the artificial intelligence, and not that thing of what, for example, a robot does from Westworld or from Ghost in the Shell. And that's where the challenge of awareness comes, because when you go and talk to your client, you have to tell them what really the AI can do today, and to be that it's kind of far from what they have seen before. And but at the end of the day, besides all of those challenges, the most interesting thing is that in this field, the knowledge sharing trend is quite good, because this field includes many scientists, and scientists are people who search and learn and share. And that's why we always have access to the newest technologies and newest ways that people try to solve some AI problems today. And based on that trend, we have access to that knowledge of that comes from the best universities, the best companies, and the best research centers. And there is a good point of being today part of this, because while you want to get some knowledge and experience from those leading guys that are in the leading companies, you have access to their knowledge and to their works. And at the end of the day, when we work with these challenges and when we work on those solutions, we see that we are researching the same things. People are researching in the best research centers and best companies and those best universities. And what we do, there's always a big chance to be a good contributor to this field, because it's being created now and it's being developed now, and every step you make, whether it's a big step or a small step, it's still a contribution to this field. And this is very important for us, because we're driven by our motivation. And when you see that what you're doing is not just creating a solution for a company, but you're also contributing into the field of the future, artificial intelligence, it drives you more, and that's what makes you think more and more, and not just leave your work when you're done with your task, because you're all constantly searching for more opportunities and for more chances to find something new to contribute into that, because sometimes well, you get some knowledge from others and you create implementation of it, but you see that it's not really working in your case. And that's where we are in case of natural language processing, because all of those theories and practical things that are created for natural language processing are created for specific languages already, but Georgian is another type of language. It doesn't really resemble to other languages, and we have to innovate and we have to create something very new. And in this case, we have to make many experiments, and based on those outcomes, then we see that some stuff must be changed in those techniques, and that's where we have to innovate. And that's why we have this interesting situation where we are driven to innovate, and that makes us even more motivated to be into this field today. Thank you very much.